Alright folks, welcome back to Hapes O Games, and today I'm going to be covering one of Nintendo's most underrated consoles and maybe misunderstood console. There was something I read online a while back when reviewing the Wii U and trying to gather information, and someone simply said this: Nintendo failed the Wii U didn't fail Nintendo. And there's never ever a truer sentence and statement when it comes to the console. And the reason I believe that is because number one failure from Nintendo was the marketing aspect of the Wii U in general. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into the marketing aspect real briefly. We're going to get into talking about some of the pros and cons of the console, and then I'm going to look at the best games and best implementation of what the Wii U tried to achieve. So if we look quickly at the marketing aspect, as I mentioned, the two biggest slip-ups from Nintendo were twofold: the actual advertisements itself and the way it was marketed. Do yourself a favour and look up some of the Wii U ads. Now I'm playing one of them here without the sound, but my god, they are so cringe, it's not even funny. I'm not even sure what the target audience was for Nintendo at the time, and I think that caused utter confusion as well. The biggest problem for me was the naming convention. Who thought it was a good idea to call the console Wii U after the Wii? So everybody pretty much thought it was an add-on for the Wii and it wasn't a new console at all. And I think ultimately that's where the differentiation between one consoles could not be made. They really should have just treated it as a complete new console with a complete new name. But anyway, let's flip this to a positive real quick. My rant is over. Let's kick into the games and the ones I've enjoyed the most. And the first up here is Hyrule Warriors. And I'm not a massive fan of Dynasty Warriors games, I admit. But when you combined the Dynasty Warriors with Zelda, I was sold on this. And the great thing about this is I love the way the objectives mix up. And they mix up live within the maps. There's massive content, and they did a great job here with the license and melding both, as I said, the Dynasty Warriors formula and the Zelda formula in combination here. It took me 20 hours to complete the campaign when I beat this, so again, as I said, it's very lengthy, and it did manage to keep my attention even for a Dynasty Warriors game. So very enjoyable, and I believe there's a sequel now out on the Switch. So next up is Pikmin III. Very good implementation of the Wii U gamepad and or the touchpad. Depends on which way you want to play this. But Pikmin is a strategy game, and the first two titles were originally released in the GameCube. Both are also excellent games. And so basically you control a horde of minions and you try and get through various levels, beat certain bosses. Basically you need to keep all your Pikmin alive and move from planet to planet. And also you need to obviously build your army as you go through those levels. Bear in mind you can permanently lose your Pikmin based on the fact is that they get eaten or taken away. There's a day and night cycle here, so you can only spend a set amount of time in each map in order to complete those objectives. You need to get those objectives done by the end of that day. And also if you want to save your Pikmin, you have to bring them back to your ship. So highly strategic. It's quite tough the latter stages, but stick with it because it's a brilliant game. So next up is Super Mario 3D World, one of the best platformers on the system. Look, I mean, you can't go wrong with Mario, you never can. The only, I think, downside to this is some people consider this to be quite easy. Now, I wouldn't go with that. I think the latter stages, there is some quite difficult stages in it. It is based around co-op as well as single player, bear in mind, but I completed the game in single player and thoroughly enjoyed my time here. It has a kind of a clean mix between kind of 2D and 3D scenarios, and including the overworld as well. It's something similar to that you'd see in Super Mario World and or Super Mario Land, Super Mario Bros, etc. So a familiar formula, but a very enjoyable one in that. It did take a little bit of a change and or step back from the design aspects of Mario Galaxy, but I love it all the same. And interesting enough, this has been brought to the Switch and it's been brought with an additional map as well, so yeah, looking forward to that one. Okay, next let's speak on Platinum Games' Bayonetta 2, a sequel to one of the best action games of all time in my opinion, and they followed it up with an equally and or arguably even better action game in the sequel. This is still exclusive to Nintendo, so you can get this on the Switch now, but I own both copies. In fact, I actually have a special edition of Bayonetta 1 and 2 for the Switch, and an absolute classic action game. For me as well, I think Capcom took cues back from Platinum Games. The Devil May Cry series, especially Devil May Cry 1 and 3, were at the time the kings of free-flowing action games and free-flowing action combat games. And then for me, they were superseded by Bayonetta 1 and 2, as I said, until Devil May Cry 5 came around. So, excellent games. This is batshit crazy as well. The story is absolutely mental, but I love it. So the next game, and I'm going to showcase this clearly because it to me is one of the best games and also one of the best implementations of the gamepad I've seen. And I think with the Nintendo Switch, you've lost that interactivity in certain aspects, because that was the real unique feature of the Wii U, was the gamepad interaction and the game itself. But again, that was fundamentally as well up to the devs to try and get the best use out of it. And I think this launch title, was the best implementation of it. And it drives such crazy tension in this game when you actually have to use the gamepad, look at the gamepad, take your eyes off the screen. It's caused some absolutely harrowing moments in this game. This game got mixed reception at the very start of when it launched first, but I think that's incredibly unfair. And when you look at it now, to me, this actually is one of the best horror games ever made, in my opinion. And again, all that is driven because of the tension that is created by using the gamepad and taking your eyes, have to force to take your eyes off the screen and then back on that screen. It creates a tension like no other. Play this in the middle of the night with a headset on and lights off. Yeah, you're in for a scare, that's for sure. I've completed this game 2 times now. The great thing about it as well is once you die, that's it, your character dies. You need to actually, you have one other attempt then to find your loot. So there's always this risk and reward of, do I go here, do I explore here, do I risk getting something here, or my character could die. There's that level of tension created as well. But to me, I'd love to do a stream of this actually, but I need to fundamentally figure out what's a really great way of doing this. I think what you see here is I managed to get footage on the camera and also footage of me actually using the gamepad, so I think that would be a great idea for a stream. So yeah, this is on WiiU, as I said, highly atmospheric. One of the best games in the system in my opinion, and one of the best implementations of the controller, as I said. Let's break into some other classics on the system. I won't cover these too much. Devil's Third, an underrated, crazy, batshit action game as well. This is quite expensive to find too. It's going for some crazy prices right now on eBay. I got this relatively cheap at the time. I'm really glad I have my copy. It's a fun, mindless action game. Kind of got some random mix between melee, first-person shooting, etc. But it's a great playthrough, just as a once-off playthrough. Again, it might be something interesting to stream. We got Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, classic platformer. We got Star Fox Zero, a brilliant game with some niggly aspects with the controls. Wonderful 101, very similar. Platinum Games action game as well, and that's also been relaunched on the Switch. Some minor issues with the controls on that, but it is enjoyable. And of course Super Mario Maker. The only thing is about Super Mario Maker now, it's kind of been superseded by the Super Mario Maker 2 on the Switch. So I mean, you can see the influence that has been created here, and ultimately we got the Nintendo Switch. I think Nintendo collated all the great ideas they had for the Wii U and combined them into both, but it is genuinely worth still getting a Wii U from my perspective at this time. Anyway, that's it from me from another video. If you like what you see, please make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.